Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I'm your host, Jared Boyd, also known as JB. I am joined by my good friend that you can catch on Max Preps and Crescent City Sports, the one, the only, Mr. VK Jones. VK, how you doing?
Good afternoon. Good Saturday afternoon here, right here in the city in New Orleans. We veer from the West Bank, but we thank everybody for joining us, not just in the city of New Orleans, but all over the state and all across the nation for the Hash It Out Show. It's a real good show we have every week. We got a big time show for you today, and as you see on the screen, you can see what we starting off with. But besides that, we got a great special guest today that Jared is going to introduce us to. Also, after our big time exclusive interview today, we got a lot of sports talk. We're gonna recap the high school football season, and also we're gonna talk about a little bit about these bowl games coming up. I know our guest alma mater is involved in one of those, and that is a great thing. But we'll talk about all that later on. Jared, go ahead and get it going and introduce our very special guest today.
Well, this guy really needs no introduction. He has won 28 state championships, just won another one last Saturday when he and his squad defeated the Brother Martin Crusaders 23-0. He has over 600 wins. Everyone, I present to you the head coach of the John Curtis Christian School Patriots, Coach J.T. Curtis. Coach Curtis, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, and my wife asked me last night. She says, "What do we have? What do we have to do tomorrow?" And I said, "Lydia, for the first time in a long time, I don't have anything but one interview to do." And she said, "You mean we have no place you have to go, no game you have to scout, no game you have to play?" I said, "No, we're done, baby." I said, we're gonna have a little time to kind of rest a little bit and look forward to the holiday season and look forward to celebrating Christmas."
Coach, your team just won another state championship. Congratulations on that. Does this feeling ever get old to you?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and the simplest way to answer that is absolutely not. It does not get old. And, because this is what we start out for. Every season, I think every team starts out with a goal to say, let's let's give ourselves an opportunity to compete and compete for a championship, whether it's a district or whether it's a regional or whatever. We were in the quarterfinals last year. Let's push to the championship, and I think that's what athletics should be about. It should be about trying to set high goals and working to try to achieve them. And as you know, Vijay, every team is different. And every team has a different personality and different leadership skills and different physical talents, and trying to mold that together with your staff and to watch those kids progress, I think is so rewarding. And it's what motivates me, to be honest with you, is to watch how they progress as young men and as athletes on the field. And it's difficult in a world today with the distractions that these kids go through. So many outside forces that are playing on them, and they have to focus 6 days a week to get focused in on the next opportunity to play. And I think it's what makes it exciting and what motivates you to continue to move forward.
I want to backtrack for a second. I found out that you played at the University of Arkansas for 3 years before transferring to Louisiana Christian University. Talk about that time for a little bit.
Well, it was a great time in my life because I was under the influence of Coach Frank Broyles, and he was an absolutely phenomenal football coach who was way ahead of his time. He was probably one of the first guys that had 2 offensive line coaches. And just as a side note, the second offensive line coach on that team was a guy named Barry Switzer. So that'll give you an idea of the kind of quality that he had. But his off-season program, his weightlifting program, things that were not really vogue at that time, Coach Broyles was way ahead of. And his practice organization and how he implemented the learning process and the classroom process with us. really gave me a leg up, really gave me an opportunity to know what it means to be able to certainly work hard as a player, but it really gave me a pattern to be able to follow when I got into coaching that first year. And it was a great experience for me. And when I went to Louisiana Christian, I didn't have the same kind of support, or I didn't have the same kind of success that we had at Arkansas. But I learned some valuable lessons there. I learned some valuable things of what you need to do when you have less resources, and when you don't have a coaching staff that is large as the one that we had at Arkansas, and when you didn't have this support staff. So it really gave me a great mixture of what to do and how to adapt, and what not to do. Things that not to try to get away from the negativity of the world. And so it was a great background for me, and I have still very close ties with friends that I played with at Arkansas that I visit with all the time. And it goes back to this. A lot of times you don't understand the path that God directs you, but if you'll just stay consistent to his will and try to be in a path that he has given you, you don't know when it's going to make dividends for you in the future. And I really feel that that was a major part of my life at that part at 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, learning what to do and how to implement it with my program as we grew and developed through the 70s and 80s and the 90s, and continue to follow a lot of that same pattern.
Coach, you've been coaching for over 50 years. What keeps you motivated to keep coaching?
It's to watch the young people progress. That and the challenge. People don't. One of the things I try to say to our players is that the goalpost and the cheerleaders and the pep rallies and all, that's the fan stuff. The nuts and bolts of what we do in football is the preparation, the dedication, uh, the commitment that has to be made over a very long period of time. We'll start back when we get back into school in January, and we'll start getting ready for next year, getting ready in the weight room and in the conditioning program and things of that nature, and we'll continue to move forward. And uh, to watch those young people progress is really exciting. And there are challenges in that. There are sometimes that I gotta pull them through the keyhole sometimes, but that's part of it. And
Right.
and that's what I think makes it all worthwhile. It's what I call the intrinsic values of athletics that are so important. And then again, the challenge of game day, going against the Brother Martins, going against the Catholics, going against all of our district teams. You got to be very well prepared, and you've got to be able to adapt on the run. You got to be able to make changes quickly and make adjustments quickly, and all those things are really challenging to me. And again, as a side note, the day that it's not, or the day that I can't walk on that practice field and be excited about being out there, is the day I'm going to come be on the podcast with you and BJ. I'll be doing something else. But at this point, I really enjoy what I do.
We'll love to have you on with us, Coach. Most definitely.
Yes.
Before I pass it on to Mr. Jones, going back to the state title run, talk about the growth and development of your team from the beginning of the season to winning that state title.
Well, first of all, is that I've always been a believer in trying to play the best teams possible. Now, that's not always easy because a lot of times you got teams that you could play, but they don't want to play. And so you got to really scratch hard to find the kind of games that you want. But we were able this year to play at Zachary in their backyard. We were able to go to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and play an excellent Oak Grove team that was a powerhouse in the state of Mississippi. And then, of course, we were able to jump into our district, which is extremely competitive, top to bottom. There's no off weeks in our district. Uh, and then, of course, the last one was against Carr, who I think was probably the most talented team that we played overall. But I think that the growth that we had from the Zachary game through the Carr game, and what's so important about that is that you understand you grow from losses, uh, sometimes much more so than you do from wins. And I thought our players and our coaches especially did a great job of taking the positives from those games. And there were positives in the two losses we had to Zachary and to Carr. There were positives in that game where we could see just one missed block, an off assignment, we could have been in the end zone, or we would have had a big stop that would have given us an opportunity to maybe win that game or compete in that game. And so I think the growth of the team through the season was really outstanding. And again, that's credit to the coaches who work that every day, and to the players who are willing to accept it and not get caught up in negativity. You know, I tell people all the time, I can use all the help that I can get, but what I really need is that help 25 seconds before the ball is snapped, not 25 seconds after the ball is snapped. We all know what that can be when after the ball snapped. And so they did a great job of not getting caught up in the naysayers or the woe is me people, and just stayed focused and positive. And then I thought we hit the playoffs, had a really good football game against a Jesuit team that was very competitive, and I thought that kind of launched us into the playoffs. And then we played a Bird High School that was extremely physical, a team that we had lost to 2 years ago. Same quarterback, same wide receiver that was a big time player for him. So I think going into the Catholic game, uh, we were really progressing. We really were playing with a lot of confidence, and I think in those games that were close, the Oak Grove game where we were able to continue to fight and get back in the lead, and have a chance to to win that game. Those games I think gave us a lot of confidence going into the Catholic game, and we were down, I think, 14-3 at the halftime of that game, and there was absolutely no panic. There was absolutely no concern in terms of what are we going to do. We made a couple of adjustments defensively and a couple of adjustments offensively, which again is a credit to the coaches who study that diligently, and were able to get a big win there. And we just were able to create some momentum through the playoffs that carried us.
Coach, man, it's good to have you. And I gotta ask you this, going back to the state championship game, and there's a reason why I asked that question in the press conference after the ball game. What I seen in the Brother Martin and John Curtis game, the state championship, what I seen was more of the old school type John Curtis in the 80s and 90s, the methodical long drives, put you to sleep, take the crowd out the game, the 4-point stance, firing off. And then all of a sudden, your defense, how they really played hard to shut down Torrey Lambert, and especially the huge drive in the third quarter that was key late and made that stop that basically got you the title. Can you really talk a little bit about how you guys really went out there and performed that well, but not just that, you know, it looked more like an old school John Curtis football game, what I seen, just classic smash mouth football.
Well, that was kind of the mantra we had going into the season. We felt like that we were going to be physical up front. Our defensive line was relatively young, but going against our offensive guys every day really helped them develop, because we felt like the strength of our offense was in our offensive line because of depth, number one, which really paid off for us because we lost all-district player to a knee injury, and the next guy stepped in and did a great job. And again, I think philosophically, if we have players that are capable of playing, I'm going to play them. If you watched us play, we rotated in 5-6 running backs. We rotated in offensive linemen, and we do that because if they show that they're capable of playing, then I'm going to give them an opportunity to play. And I think it paid off to us in the playoffs, and we had some injuries and some things of that nature. But to answer your question more directly, we felt like going into it that we could be a physical team up front, and that we could control the line of scrimmage and give us a chance to win the game. And that's kind of what happened. I thought, obviously, when we had the ball on the half-yard line, I didn't know if we would drive it out 99 yards, but I know that they came out with an attitude, let's get it off the goal line and give our punter a legitimate chance and our defense a chance. I mean, that was the attitude they had when they took that field, and they just continued to pick up first downs, and we turned it into a 99-yard drive that ate up a huge part of the whole second quarter and got us an opportunity to win the game. We're going to play physical football. That the game is designed to be physical, and we're gonna practice that way, and we're gonna play that way.
And that's a real good thing, Coach. And I respect that, because certain fans say that, well, I don't know how Curtis still continues to do that. And I always tell people that is still a good, the running game is still in existence in this football, in this time. Because the fact of the matter is, you're going to need that to take those fast-paced offenses off the field. So I admire how you continue to use that game plan that John Curtis has been using for decades, and it still works to this day, Coach.
Well, I think you look, whether it's at the collegiate level or whether it's the professional level, the teams that run the football win the games.
Correct.
If you look at the consistency of who are in the teams that are in the Super Bowl, the teams that are in those playoffs or the collegiate playoffs, they are teams that run the ball. I'm going to make this comment without saying names because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but a very prestigious college coach told his offensive coordinator when he got a new job, he said, you could throw it. You want to throw it that much in the first couple of days of spring ball? He said, but I'm telling you right now, you better run the football or I'm going to fire you. And he got the message across right away that that's good. Throwing it's good, but you better be able to run the football because we can't win if we can't run the ball. And I think that's so important that you have the ability to run the football. It opens up so much in the passing game, gives you an opportunity for great play action plays and bootleg plays when people have to respect the run.
Let's talk a little bit about your quarterback, Dagan Bruno. I believe he has, I think he's a junior this year, or he has one more year. He's been really coming up. He got hurt earlier, but he came back. I mean, he can make plays for you. Compare him to some of your quarterbacks in the past, because you had some really, really good ones. Colin Guggenheim. You go to your son, Jeff Curtis. You look at Danny Whitbrine, Johnny Thiel, which to me, maybe one of the best all-around quarterbacks I probably ever seen at Curtis. But at the same time, what you compare Dagan Bruno to your other players?
Well, I think there are a couple of things you need to realize about that. They started the season with the Jordan Smith and Dagan splitting time. And again, it goes back to what we said. Coming out of spring ball, we opened it up. Jordan was a senior and Dagan was a junior, and we told them, we're going to evaluate every day, and the player that comes to the top is going to be the starter. And we come out of spring ball and we couldn't decide. And so we got into the fall and said, let's look at the same thing. Well, to cut to the chase, we played both of them. I know there are some people that say, well, you can't play two quarterbacks. Well, we did. and they both were very successful. And of course, Dagan got hurt early in the season, and Jordan had to take the reins and did a great job. And then Jordan got hurt late in the season and was out for the rest of the year. And it gave Dagan an opportunity to step in, and he was ready. It wasn't new to him. It wasn't his first time under the light, so to speak. So I just think that he continued to grow as a player. And I think the experience that he had gained through the first part of the season was really the difference in how he progressed, because he played against some really good teams. Was able to get a good experience going into it. And then when when Jordan got hurt, he was ready to step right in, just as Jordan was when he got hurt. So again, it kind of goes back to your philosophy of playing players. And I just was really pleased with how he progressed with his checks. You saw in the game, he checked probably, I'm going to tell you, 65% of the time. There were plays that he had checked with me, or that we had called that he checked based on what the defense did. And he did a really nice job with that. And the great thing about him is he's a junior.
Absolutely. And the way he threw that football in the champion, we seen him throw some good throws this year, championship. You gave him a lot of trust. And what was shocking was the fact it was straight drop back. Not play action pop passes, straight drop back in a pro set. And it's like, oh my God. And he connected I'm like, he can throw the ball very well. And yes, like you said, scary part about him, he's a junior.
Yep.
Coach JT, go ahead.
He can. What I was going to say is that what a lot of people don't understand, we run the football. There's no question about that. But we practice the throwing game extensively. If you come to my practices, you'd be surprised at the amount of time that our quarterbacks and receivers spend throwing the ball. And because you're gonna have to be able to do it. At some point in time, you're gonna have to be able to make plays in the passing game. And we've been able to do that. We made some big plays against Acadiana up there in their backyard in the passing game, and made big plays against Catholic in the passing game. And you got to be able to throw the football if you're going to be successful. But I think it all centers around the ability to run the football and create problems for the defense in terms of coverage and in terms of stopping the run first.
It's unbelievable how the evolution that sometimes you might throw this, that, and the third. I remember when you had Johnny Thiel, you had a good bit of throwing and beside running. And then Malachi Dupree, I remember you told me some way, somehow we got to get him the ball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I remember that as well. But we go way back, Coach. And I got to ask you this. I remember when I was a sophomore at St. Augustine, and that was around 94. Y'all came back from a 19-3 deficit, beat St. Augustine. And I shook you. I was one of the first ones shaking your hand and everything. And your son, Jeff Curtis, I always shake his hand. Have a lot of respect. We get along very, very well. I always said that 4th and goal at the 25-yard line. I don't know how he did it, for him to just maneuver 5 tackles to get the winning touchdown, you know. But besides that, the question I'm about to ask coming from that, it seems like you have kept this train moving with this school that was a vision of your dad more than anything else. Right. But now you have kept it going, not just with yourself, but with your sons, Jeff, Johnny, all these other families of the Curtis family, the Usla family. You know, how do y'all keep this going, not just for football, but for the school itself and the message you're putting out?
Sure. Well, you know, first of all, you're right about that game. When he pulled that ball down and got that 25-yard run, I hope it's an attitude. I hope it's the ability to make a play when maybe you're not supposed to, because of the mental toughness and the will to try to be and to do all that you can do to be successful. And that's what we try to instill in our players. But you're exactly right. You know, a lot of people have a misconception of this. My dad did not start the school for athletics. Athletics was a second thought to him. He was a guy that believed in athletics, but what he believed in more importantly were two things. First of all, Christianity. He was converted in his life as a Christian when he was about 22 years old, and it really changed his life. God intervened in his life and changed his life. And he went to his pastor that he was the church he was at when he was a young boy, and he told him he thought he might want to go into the ministry and wanted to go. And the pastor said, "Johnny, I want you to go to college." And my dad said, "Well, I got a cousin that's a pastor. He didn't go to." He said, "No, I want you to go to college." And he talked him into going to college. And those two things changed his life. His conversion experience with Christ and his college education changed his life. And so he believed so strongly in the spiritual aspect, obviously, from a Christian perspective, not a denominational perspective. That's another thing that he was very strongly believed in. My dad was an ordained Baptist pastor. Now, he pastored 55 years in the Baptist church. But when he started the school, he was determined that we would not be affiliated with a denomination. Not that it was bad, but he did not want to equate your experience with Christ because you're Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, Presbyterian, Assembly of God, whatever it might be. That's not the issue. The issue is the personal relationship. And then the second thing was the education. I mean, education obviously allowed him to get into the teaching profession and allowed him to recognize those two factors would change people's lives for the next 50 years, not just on a short-term basis. And so, interestingly, BK, he never talked to us about going into the school business. He always told us, my brothers and my sisters, it's a calling now. If you don't feel led to do this, go do something else. He said, it's a calling. And I really believe that teachers that are committed are teachers that are called. They're there because they have a passion for young people and a passion for teaching and learning. And my two sons have followed in that footstep. The Utzler family and the Rickner family are my sister's husbands, and they've all, some of their children have come into the teaching program, and some have not. Some have gone into other professions, but it was because he believed it was about a calling, not just a job, not just something you did. You don't teach because of the stipend. You teach because you love young people and because you love the learning experience. And I'm not minimizing the stipend. Don't misunderstand that. But if that's the only reason you do it, you're not going to be in it long because the kids will drive you nuts.
You can say that again, Coach. I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna let Jared take over the rest of the way. This has been great. You were at your alma mater. I'm actually just two-parter right quick. You was at your alma mater, East Jefferson High School. It's amazing you come from there, but at the same time, when did the vision came in for you, and you got that calling to be like, hey, Dad is like, I'm like, when you had that vision and calling saying, okay, I need to come to John Curtis. I need to be a part of my dad's vision. I need to come and step in. When that calling came, and also let me ask you about the athletic department. And in the past, we always talk about John Curtis, known as football, but we've been seeing in the last couple of decades, athletics has been taken over with John Curtis besides football. Basketball program, state championship. The
Right.
girls basketball program, 6 state titles.
Right.
The track program, couple state titles. The baseball program with state titles, and the softball team. Tell us how it's been with the athletic department besides the education, because we know the education's first.
Well, I obviously enjoyed playing football. I started when I was in junior high school and played all the way through, and I'm fortunate to have a great football coach at East Jefferson High School, Coach Bob Whitman, who was such a major influence in my life from a discipline standpoint and a caring standpoint and a toughness standpoint. He brought that to the table, and he brought that to his teams. And I always felt a desire to coach, to be a part of it. The guys that are older would remember the name Hoss Memphis. Coach Memphis coached at East Jefferson before he was the head coach at West Jefferson. And I remember talking to Coach Memphis as a young guy and a junior in high school about defense, which is what his specialty was. And so I always was really intrigued with the challenge and the chess match, if you would, of football. And that's what it is. Everybody's got 11 players, and you got to get them put in the right place to do the right thing in order to have a checkmate. And so that always did intrigue me. And when I had the opportunity to come and work that first year, I took it. And of course, if you know that story, we were 0-11 when you count the jamboree, and I thought maybe I'd made a bad decision. Maybe I ought to go do insurance or something. But we just kept on. We just kept on keeping on, and wouldn't quit. And again, that goes back to your childhood, the way your parents raised you, the influence of your coaches. Coach Whitman, you don't quit. You keep fighting, and we were able to progress from there. And my dad really believed in allowing young people, and we've continued to do that, to play the sports that they want to play. If you talked about Dagan Bruno, Dagan is football. He's going to play basketball, and he's going to be a starter in baseball. Marlon Prout is a football, basketball, a track guy. We want kids to participate. We want them to, and we're going to make the adjustments as the adults. We're going to make the adjustments in our program to give kids a chance to do what they love to do. And so the emphasis has always been that if we're going to do it, let's do it to the best of our ability. It doesn't necessarily mean you have all the money in the world. It doesn't mean you have your own football stadium or your own track field, but you do whatever you have to do to give your kids a chance to be successful. And we've been fortunate enough to have really highly qualified people that have done that. And a lot of them are family members. Preston Curtis in track is as good as you get. I mean, he studies that game. He studies those techniques, and he's an excellent track coach. Jerry in softball, he learned the game. Jerry is a student of the game. Obviously, he didn't play softball, but was a student of the game and has learned how to coach it. And our baseball program has been exceptional also. And then Coach Lewitt has come in behind Coach Kreitzer and just continued to move that basketball program forward. And as a side note, again, I think you'll see them making a serious run in the playoffs this year.
And also the women's side. Before Jared, I'm gonna let you go ahead. The women's side, we can't forget about Alondra Brown stepping in. What amazing things have done. You look at Coach Christie, who set the tone, and then Coach Neffinger took the program to sky high levels and got them to 2 state titles. And then all of a sudden, Barbara Ferris blows it way out the water. Tamika Johnson maintains the program. And now Alondra Brown steps in. We're looking forward to see what Coach Brown does at Curtis.
She's going to do really well. She's a little bit different personality, but that's okay, and a little bit different from the other coaches. But they all have their skill and their abilities, and they're molding their teams. And our girls program, our girls team has really played well against some really good competition. We were in the final game. In a big tournament in Mobile that we went to, and they ended up losing by a couple of points, but it's a relatively young team, and they play hard, and Coach Brown will get them where they need to be, and the future is very bright there for them.
Coach, out of all your championship teams and even your national championship team, is there any team that sticks out more to you than any other, or do they all stick out equally to you?
Equally to me is the right word. but because they were also so different, so uniquely different. You know, I go back into the 75 team. That was a team that did not have a guy on it that was capable of playing college football or that played college football. Yet they went in the championship game and beat Notre Dame of Crowley, which is still to this day a powerhouse in their division. Uh, and the memories of how those guys played and what they were able to accomplish is just it's unbelievable. And uh, certainly there have been teams that had more talent than other teams, but each one of them had their uniqueness also. And I'm not talking about just the championship team. I'm talking about teams that competed and when they left the field, you know they had left all they had out there. And when you do that, you can go to sleep at night a little better. It's never as easy after a loss, obviously, but you know that they've left it all out on the field, and that's what's so important. So I would tell you that, yeah, that I look at them all individually and equally. The players like to argue back and forth about which one. I tell you a quick story. Uh, when Joe was playing for me, we were playing. I can't remember the team we were playing. We were playing at Pan American, and Reggie Dupard. Anybody that's a little bit older will remember that name. Was All American SMU first round pick in New England. He was at the game and he was on the sideline with us. And Joe broke a run, and I think somebody knocked him out on the 2-yard line or something like that. A great run, and knocked him out. And Joe came off the sideline, and everybody was kind of high fiving him. And he passed past. He came past Dupard, and and Reggie said, "Nice run, Joe, but I never would have got caught." Yeah, that kind of sets the tone for him. I'll never forget that. Joe whipped his head around and looked at him, and he smiled. And but they all have such pride in what they've accomplished and how they played as a team. And so I would tell you that I look at them all as being patriots and all in that same boat.
My next question was about Joe McKnight. In my opinion, the best high school player I've ever seen play. Give us your thoughts about Joe McKnight as a person. I know he's someone that was nearly close to you.
Yeah, he was. Joe was an exceptional player, and he had exceptional skills, and he was an unselfish player. A lot of times, guys that have that high skill level become pretty self-centered and pretty selfish. And I think part of Joe growing up here as a young athlete, he learned to put that behind him a little bit. But he was such an unselfish player. If I needed him on defense, if I needed one time, we were in a situation where we had to cover a punt, and the boy that was the starter was hurt, and we was kind of scrambling to find somebody that was a backup. We were worried about him, and Joe said, "I got it, coach." And the next thing I knew, Joe was on the field out there at the gunner spot and got down the field and made the tackle. And Joe was a highly skilled athlete. That's life was cut too short, too soon. But that you're right. When he made the high school All-American team, I sent in his stats, and the guys that were doing it called me back and said, "Coach, we must have had a misprint." He said he doesn't have the carries. He doesn't seem to have as many carries. And I said, "You're right." I said, "He doesn't." I said, "But I want you to look at the yards per carry." And his yards per carry were over 10 yards per carry. And the guy looked at it and he said, "I apologize." He said, I see what you're saying. I said, "Look, a lot of the games that he was in were out of hand by the halftime because of him." And he would stand there and cheer on those young kids in that whole second half. He didn't have as many carries, but his yards per carry were the best in the whole group.
And coach, I have a connection. Me and you have a slight connection with Joe McKnight itself. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that I knew his mom very, very well. We went to Delgado together and everything, and she always talked about those three kids: Joe, her daughter and the other son. And I mean, man, they turned out to be great athletes in itself. And I know I gave you some respect before. I gave you a lot more respect for what you did for the McKnight family in itself. Because I tell anybody, if you don't respect what JT Curtis is doing, you need to respect him now. Because that takes a man of God to do what you did. Because at a time like what happened, and it really hurt all of us because of the fact knowing Miss Jennifer, and I was like, my God, I said, you got to be kidding me. And at the time, I'm still working over in the newsroom at WDSU, and it just hurt my heart. And I went seen her, and I seen her came for it before she came for an interview and talked with her and gave her a big hug. And I was like, my prayers are with you. My prayers are with you and everyone else. But Coach Joe was a great guy. And it is too bad that his life was cut short early. But I give you a lot of respect for what you did for the family, and it shows a serious message what you're about as a man of God and what John Curtis is about.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're right. Those three kids, Jonathan, her youngest son, of course, went to Arizona, played, and is doing really well. I came by and saw him the other day. As a matter of fact, about 2 weeks ago, he stopped by and we had a chance to visit. But the daughter, Johanna, we always said she was the best athlete in the whole group anyway, She did it all, man. She was just a fabulous player and a fabulous young lady. University of Richmond, and graduated there and has done extremely well for herself. And the loss of Joe was really tough. And I don't have to tell you all, there was a lot of racial tension at that point. And there was a lot of anxiety at that point. And I thank God that I was able to have some part in having people take a breath and not to create the kind of chaos that had been created in other cities. And I think it's one of the things that people missed about New Orleans, because that was a very volatile time in our history, and our history of our country. And New Orleans, the leaders, the Black leaders of the churches on the West Bank, brought a calm and a peace and said, God's going to prevail. His justice will prevail. And we were able to get through that period without riots, without more bloodshed. And I was a small part of that, but I'm very thankful for the leadership in our community as we got through that period in our life.
Coach, the transfer portal has changed the landscape of college football. How has this affected high school seniors?
Terrible. It's terrible. I just sometimes I stop and I scratch my head and say, what were people thinking about? What in the world was the NCAA, with all of their regulations and rules and recruiting and all of that, to allow that to happen as unchecked as it is ridiculous. I told somebody what they gave SMU the death penalty for in the late 80s is exactly what we're doing now. I told her, I said, if I was SMU people, I think I'd sue them. They killed their football program for what they're allowing to go on now,
right?
Unchecked. And the transfer portal, we have lost with this portal the tenacity, the stickability, the overcoming the obstacles, maintaining the course. We're losing that. And it's such a valuable lesson that we have to teach our young people. Coach Saban and I were talking years ago, and he said, you know what I'm really worried about? He said, the video games. He said, I'm watching my son play a video game, and I see him turn it off. And I said, what'd you do? He said, the score's out of hand. I just turned it off. I'm going to start another game. And he said, I looked at him and I said, finish playing the game. We've gotten to a generation where if we don't like what we're doing, just click it off and go do another thing, rather than to persevere and to overcome and to to strive and to work hard. And it really concerns me. And I think a lot of young people, a lot of kids are going to get hurt in the transfer portal. They don't have that many spots open for them to go to. And those coaches have every right to say, hey, you entered, I'm not going to take you back. I'll go another direction too. And I think it's going to take, to be honest with you, another 4 years, 3, 4, maybe 5 years for this thing to really shake out and realize what we have done. And hopefully at that point we can make some adjustments. But the transfer portal, in my opinion, is a disaster. And when I say a disaster, I know that it presents opportunities for some students that maybe are caught in a difficult situation, but there ought to be some checks and balances with it to make sure that kids are making good decisions for the right reasons and to be able to move forward from there.
And coach, I can and I had to look at it more than anything else. Talk with various high school coaches and also junior college coaches that now I can understand more than anything else. Okay, I can see what the problem is. At first, I thought the transfer portal was great, but now I'm thinking it's a gift and a curse. You look at the gift of it, and I always bring this example up of what happened to Keaton Thompson. Because this is one of the reasons why the transfer portal happens. Because the thing is, with his situation and being close to Mississippi and Mississippi State and everything else, it was just the fact that what happened to him was like, okay, I can understand why he has to go, because the fact of the matter is he's getting screwed. He's undefeated as a starter. Why he's not on the field, this is not understandable. And I can see why. But also, looking at the other side of it, not just talking with you, JT, talking with Coach Jenkins at Lutcher last week for the championship, talking about Lunch Winfield. And I'm looking at him from a year-to-year standpoint, and it's like, I can see why Coach is saying that. And I can see why other coaches are saying it. There should be a limit. I can see where you come from, and I agree with you, Coach JT. There should be a limit on the transfer portal, because I think it's a little bit too much right now. I think it's more of the wild, wild west. I think it should be more of a cut down more than anything else, so it can help not just the high schoolers, but also the junior colleges, so the kids can be recruited, so the recruitment can be back the way it used to be.
Right. Well, here's the deal. Look, there's no question that the most difficult spot on the team is quarterback. You're going to play one quarterback, and so a guy could get stuck behind a quarterback and maybe feel like, I'm not going to get a chance. Okay, I understand that, but let's take a look at Mac Jones. Okay, 5 years at Alabama. They bring in the quarterback from California, who's the starter now and the Heisman Trophy winner, and everybody he was going to be the guy, and Jones said, no, no, I've been here 5 years, and by golly, I'm going to be the starting quarterback, and I'm going to win for the Alabama football team. And as a result of that, not only did that, he ends up being a first-round draft pick, and he ends up going to the New England Patriots, and is going to bring them to another position of glory before it's over with. So I do understand the quarterback position, and I think that's where maybe some of the adjustments need to be made. By position or by years of being behind certain people. I mean, this business of being a freshman and at the end of your freshman year, you're transferring out because you're not starting is ridiculous. I think there needs to be a time frame of saying you put in this much effort into your program and you're not making the headway, you're still a number 2 or a number 3. Well, I understand that kid wants to have a chance to play. But you go back to those kind of people and you realize that's what winners are made of, and just turning and going to the grass being greener on the other side of the fence is not always the answer, in my opinion.
VK, do you have any last questions for Coach JT before I get to my last two?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I definitely want to ask him this more than anything else. Going forward with the program and everything, what's the future coming up? It's just a fact. You just keep things going, and it nothing just stops you. You just like, but it's a blessing where you are. What's the future coming up for JT Curtis? Because it seems like, you know, next season might be critical, but what's next for you? What's the future? Because I know for you, you just love this thing and you just don't want to stop, because it's amazing how you balance coaching and also the media, because you've done a great job over the years being the co-host of Friday Night Football.
I appreciate that. And by the way, that show has been such an impact in our community. I guarantee you, I can't go to a store or an event or someplace where I don't have some man, no longer a kid, walk up and say, "Coach, I was on that show. I was number 35. I scored 3 touchdowns. You remember?" And I'll look at him and say, "Yes, sir, boy, you did good." And I'm saying, "Holy mackerel. You know how many 35s I've seen run the football in the 30 years I played that?" But to him, man, it was the moment. It was monumental for that boy, and it's really been a positive influence. And I tell you, man, Ed does a tremendous job in the preparation of that show, and I have nothing but admiration for how that's done. But moving forward, I would tell you this, VK, that as long as I can continue to make a strong positive influence, I'm going to continue to do something that I love. The day that I can't will be the day that I won't. We feel good about our program. We feel good about the kids we have in our school. We're going to work with them. We're going to train them. We're going to teach them, and we're going to try to help them reach their fullest potential. And however that plays out in the end, I don't know, but I know my responsibility is to do all I can to get them to that point. And that's what I enjoy about the coaching end of it, and I think the future for us in terms of our ball and our team is very, very bright.
And I'm gonna ask you two. I'm gonna ask you a trick question right quick. Trick question. I'm gonna let Jared finish this out. Who was your toughest opponent you ever had to play, and also the toughest player? Because there was some great ones you went up against, and all I know, I can name maybe 3 off the top of my head that really had some tough, big performances against you. But who was your toughest opponent you went against? Toughest team, toughest player?
Whew. Uh, that's a tough question because players now, when you're talking about the Fournettes of the world, the Herb Tylers of the world, when he was at Old Prairie Walker, you go back into Brandon Jacobs when he was at Assumption High School. I tell you a quick story about Brandon. Brandon was the personal protector on the punt team. Brandon's 6'4", 250 pounds now. Okay?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm on the sideline and I'm saying, "Watch the fake now. We got the fake." I say, "Make sure we got the fake." Well, they fake it. Brandon picks up the first down, runs over the guy and everything. And years later, we're talking about it, and the guy that was defending him is a doctor today. And he was about 160 pounds, and I'm fussing at him because he hadn't tackled Brandon Jacobs, who plays for the New York Giants. Okay. But you go through with those kind of guys that you've played against, and you realize what skills they had and what good athletes they were. And look, there have been a lot of them. There's no question about that. From an opponent standpoint, we went up to Faraday, Louisiana, and played a Faraday team in the 80s that Jerry Baldwin coached. And we got into an absolute knockdown, drag-out war with them, man. I think it ended up like 42-38, something like that. And he played 13 players is what he played.
Wow.
And
Wow.
they were as physical as any football. And Jerry went on to have success, as you know, at LSU and at UL Lafayette and so forth. But they were a team that made a lasting impression on me because of how they played and the way they played. So But there have been a lot of good ones. Now, I mean, the St. Aug team we played when Fournette was a senior was a good football team, loaded with talent and playing those kind of teams through the years has really been a challenge for us.
And I think the one opponent is more than anything else, besides St. Aug, I think the Old Prairie Walker game, and I think even regardless, it was a loss. It seemed like to me that was the change a little bit in New Orleans high school football, because we knew John Curtis was the creme de la creme. Before Old Prairie Walker went in that night, it was just a fact. It was kind of a change coming.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That league, when we got in, we kind of had our way the first couple of years, and then Coach told me, he said, "Coach, we got together and said, hey, we're gonna have to buckle up. We're gonna have to get ourselves where we need to be," and they did right across the board. Carver, Old Prairie Walker, Clark, Carr. Coach Watney. I mean, that league turned out to be a knockdown, drag out fight. You know, they asked me, this Catholic league or that league, which one was the best? They both were extremely challenging, and they both were. It was an exciting time in terms of play. Every week was going to be a war, and you knew it. And that Old Prairie Walker team, they beat us in the regular season, and we ended up winning in the dome against them. And that was an awfully good football team. You're exactly right.
Coach, you are a few wins away from taking over the number one spot for the most wins by a high school coach in the nation. Do you think about this at all, or just?
Honestly, no, until you bring it up or somebody else brings it up, and I have to think about it just a little bit. Hey, guys, I'm going to be finished in just a minute. Hang just 1 second. I'm hollering at my guys to hang in there just a little bit. Look, that crazy VK told me we're going to be on about 20 minutes, Coach. We went way past 20 minutes, VK.
I don't know why VK said 20 minutes. Come on, VK.
That's my fault. That's my fault.
No, that's okay. But honestly, look, the most important game is the next game.
Yes, sir.
And the most important event is the next event for those kids. And so whatever happens, happens. If it's God's will for us to be there, I'll be there. And if it's not, I'll go on my way and know that I've done the very best I can. And that's how I try to approach it and how I look at it.
Well, Coach JT Curtis, we thank you for joining us on this show. And once again, congratulations on another state championship win, and best of luck to you in the future, sir.
I'm going to take it, and I appreciate that, and appreciate being with y'all. Let's do it again sometime.
Most definitely.
And Coach, thank you so much, and shout out to you and also your family, the Curtis family, Houston family. Thank you so much. And Jeff Curtis, thanks for everything, for setting this thing up, and we apologize for prolonging this. There's so many great stories out there.
That's all right. We had a good time. And let me
Happy
say,
holidays.
Merry Christmas to y'all. And let's remember to keep Christ the center focus of this holiday season for us. We have so many blessings that we need to be thankful for as a country, a community, and let's keep that focus right in line. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Most definitely. God bless you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Coach JT Curtis. Oh man, great fun interview with Coach JT. I was waiting for Coach JT to say Salmon. That's what I was waiting for.
I was thinking that too. I didn't. I was gonna bring up Fournette's name, Dwayne Wood's name, Tristan Smith.
Tristan Smith, man.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the number one performance I will always remember against the John Curtis team. The John Curtis team losing in the dome. Tristan Smith, number one, and then the running back for Redemptress when Redemptress beat them. I cannot remember this guy's name, but he ran.
Jay, is it Jay Tyler? No, not Jay Tyler. It was Jay Gordon, whatever his name. Because he played running back. He was number 2, for Redemptress.
Yes.
And he was an unbelievable basketball player as well. So, and at the time, you think of the head coach, and that was Sid Edwards. Sid Edwards won a football state championship and a basketball state championship the same year.
Wow.
So, unbelievable coach. Sid, and I talked with Coach Edwards a couple times. He not too long retired finally at Central. He's a legend in Baton Rouge in itself, and a class guy. I talked with him a couple times. Great class.
Yeah.
And with that, but one performance that stood out to me, and I could say two, I could say maybe three. One was the Fournette performance against Curtis, finally beating John Curtis. And I mean, basically solidify Leonard Fournette solidified himself as the greatest athlete ever come out of St. Aug. He solidified himself that game. And then Dwayne Woods, and we're not talking about the state championship game. People keep forgetting the year after when Salmon played John Curtis and Joe Yenny, and Dwayne Woods was hurt. He was hurt most of the game. He played a little bit, but was mostly hurt. The game was on TV, and they said he might not come back. He comes back in the fourth quarter and takes over and gets Salmon the win at Joe Yenny. And the other performance that really stood out to me against Curtis was Chris Williams of Old Prairie Walker. What he did to Curtis in the rain, having over 300 yards passing and 4 touchdowns in not just a big victory, a shutout. So more than anything else, those 3 performances stood out, but I'm not surprised that JT was not going to say anything about Salmon. But it's good to have him, and I can't believe we went beyond what it did, but it was some great, interesting stories.
Oh, man, he told some great stories.
We just knew it was coming. That's why we had to apologize to Coach JT, because and also to his family. Jeff is going to kick my butt, but he going to kick my butt like he did St. Aug, but it is what it is. But I enjoyed it, man. And
I did too.
And he had a serious message. And it's amazing.
His family always been religious based. Always been.
Always. They're very, very gracious. And it's something else when you get to know them. Because in the past, people had a not liking, and hate is a strong word on this show, but they had not too much of a liking of John Curtis. And some people still don't have a liking of John Curtis. But once you get to know the program closely, you'll change your mind. Because trust me, I had a respect. I didn't have too much of a liking, but I had a great respect for them because of the program.
Definitely.
But when I got to know JT better, the school better, anytime you see JT Curtis, what he did for Joe McKnight, anytime when there was a football camp, the great coach Terry Hick Wilson, that used to coach over at Old Prairie Walker, did a football camp, and David Johnson shows up, and JT Curtis shows up. So in mostly all black, all African American camp, he shows up. That says something. That this man is beyond what it is. He's just a man of God trying to make it, and he shows that we're all children of God. It don't matter what color, creed, or background. So that's why I give a lot of respect to him outside the football field. Trust me, once you get to know not just JT Curtis, but you know the John Curtis Hot Christian School and the church better, you will understand what their message is. It is beyond football, ladies and gentlemen.
I forgot to tell Coach JT one thing. Maybe you can send him a text message and just tell him. Got to tell him Aaron Meyer and Michael Meyer is my cousin. And that's 2 players that play for him. I forgot to mention it.
I'm actually about to text him right now to let him know that.
Just let him know. Just let him know. I forgot to mention it.
Right. And he is a great admiration for Aaron Meyer. He has a great admiration for him. He even talked about him a lot on Friday Night Football, even in the losses. But I think your cousin's in a good position right now. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's
Mhm.
a better situation than it was over there at Central Foods. They're still trying to figure things out over there.
Definitely.
So that's just it is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely mention to him right now.
Yeah, just mention. All right. While you doing that, we're gonna move on. So we had the state championship games last week. We are going to pick who do we think will get to the dome for next season. While VK is letting Coach JT Curtis know who my cousins were that played for him. We're going to start with the Division One non-select. We did say this last week on the show who we thought would get to the dome out of this division, and we're going to repeat and then go from there. I have the Southside Sharks taking on the Westgate Tigers. It's just a matter of time for Southside, and I think they come over this hump come next season. And then Westgate brings back so many people coming back for the Westgate team. They're so young. Westgate gets to the dome and take on Southside, which will be an all Lafayette area championship in Division One non-select. Who did you have?
The non-select side, I think we're I know one of them I said Westgate. Westgate's definitely gonna be back, and I would not be I think it'll be between Westgate and probably Ruston. I think
Okay.
Ruston will get back, or the Destrehan Wildcats might get back. But I really think it's gonna be Ruston, Westgate next season. But I would not be surprised Southside is definitely gonna be in the fold.
All right, Division One select. I have Curtis getting back. They bring back a lot. I think 7 starters on offense, 6 on defense. So they bring back a lot, majority. And with Bruno at quarterback and letting him throw the ball, I think makes Curtis dangerous. But I think we're gonna see Curtis take on I just had it. Um I think we're gonna see Curtis against Caliga Baton Rouge. Now, I'm not gonna eliminate Carr. I just need to know Carr's quarterback situation. Replacing AJ Samuel is a tough task. So, once I see who that is and how they are responding, I might change. But right now, those are my picks. What you got, VK?
Well, looking, more than anything else, I think John Curtis will be back. They had the majority of their starters will be back next year, so that's going to be big for John Curtis, and experience plays big for any team. Um, the team I got John Curtis going against next year. The last couple of years, we have seen curses, and actually the last decade, we've been seeing a lot of curses broken.
Mm-hmm.
You can say East Jeb to St. James to Landry Walker to all these other schools that has broken curses. We've seen Brother Martin getting back to the dome. They didn't win it, but they got back to the dome. You see Marcus Scott, the Demons finally go away, and he wins a state title.
Yeah.
Next season, John Curtis will take on the Purple Knights of St. Aug. St. Aug
That's
returns,
good.
various starters coming
Good
back.
pick. Good pick.
And I'm like this. Dawson Simmons will be 100% ready. Nick Foster is going to be the guy that's going to break this curse of 79. And they're going to get back for the first time ever. St. Augustine will play in that dome for the state title next year. It's got to happen next year. Not putting no pressure on my boy Nick Foster, but you've seen all these curses falling. St. Aug's got to be next. They gotta be next. That's what it is. I've been saying that for the longest, especially when you see these programs finally get to where they need to be in the pinnacle. And I keep on saying St. Aug is next. And I think next year is they're gonna be that time.
Okay. I think that's a good pick. I think St. Aug is a good pick. So I really can't
Not
go
saying that
against you.
because it's my alma mater.
No, I know. Yeah,
Not
yeah,
saying
just
that,
being real.
but I'm just being real on that. You know what I'm saying? And Reggie Johnson, no, don't you say anything about the Brother Martin Crusaders. No, just don't do it. Don't do it, please.
Division II non-select. So I'm going with North DeSoto automatically. North DeSoto back in the dome next year. And Lutcher has to replace Lunch Winfield. That's a major task. A major task. But I'm going to jump off the deep end a little bit. I got North DeSoto, and I think St. Martinville will be that team to make that run. I think Harvey Broussard comes back. And they got some other players. I think St. Martinville will be that team to make a run and get to the dome to take on North DeSoto.
I'm gonna say this: North DeSoto, yes. North DeSoto, they'll definitely be back. St. Martinsville is a good pick, but I really think and I would not be surprised. It's gonna be a rematch.
Okay.
North DeSoto and Lutcher. It is gonna be tough to replace Lunch Winfield, but here is the big caveat: Lutcher's gonna look like that. To me, they're gonna remind you of the 2008 Destrehan team, where Jordan Jefferson left. Winwood Smothers had to just be the game energy that does enough, but that defense carries them. Lutcher, and here's the thing about Lutcher: they return 14 starters, 9 on defense. So I think the defense is gonna carry them. Lutcher's defense got better and better in the end of the year. Guess what? 9 of them come back. So I think they're going to carry them. 5 starters return on offense. But I think if the young offense get it together, it might take time. But I wouldn't be surprised. It's like they said, it's not how you start, how you finish. Wouldn't be surprised. This could be a rematch next year, and North DeSoto will probably be the favorites.
Okay. Division II select. Lafayette Christian Academy with Juwan Johnson still at quarterback. They're going back to the dome. I really believe that. I think this guy's a big time playmaker. I think he's going to lead his team back. He's going to be hungry after what just happened and how they lost this championship. You know, Trev Falk resigned, but I believe this team will still be very explosive on the offensive front and just going to score a lot of points that will get them back to the dome. The team they will face, I don't think it's going to be another Lafayette team come next season. I don't think it'll be Turlings. I don't think it'll be St. Thomas More. I think it's going to be a New Orleans area team. And that team being the Archbishop Shaw Eagles.
Oh, no.
The Shaw Eagles are returning so many starters on defense. Defense got better throughout the year. And defense going to be the catalyst this year for this team. Yeah, you bring back all of your DBs. Bring back the majority of your defensive line. Plus, you got your linebackers. Now, yes, Shaw got to replace a David Kinsey, a Mike Williams. Jason Cabo was a quarterback. Mason Williams steps in as your quarterback. And I think Shaw will open the playbook more and have a little bit more of a passing game next season because Mason Williams can throw the rock. He can throw the rock. I think we're good at running backs. I think we're good at those spots. They're not a David Kinsey, but these guys can get the job done. Trying to replace a Mike Williams at wide receiver will be the main objective. And we'll see what happens in the spring and going forward. But I think the Shaw Eagles will make that run. Shaw versus LCA in the Dome, Division II select.
All right. I'm going to agree with you on the LCA pick. Definitely.
I already knew what you were disagreeing with me on. Your face showed it.
The thing with Shaw, they're gonna return a lot of starters, but you have 3 important positions that is not gonna be there, and it's gonna be a mountain to climb. But Shaw could have a chance, but I don't have them in the dome. It's gonna be wide open to see who's gonna be in that second spot. Lafayette Christian is definitely the favorites. They're definitely the favorites off the top, especially with the quarterback. I'm gonna go out on a limb again, and I don't care what anybody thinks. What I've been hearing, and what I've been hearing, and also what I've been seeing. Do not be surprised. John F. Kennedy makes another step. Do not be surprised. John F. Kennedy makes the other step, and that's the New Orleans team that goes to the Dome. Don't be surprised, because they said, yeah, they're losing a lot of experience this year, but they said what's coming the next year in the future. It's looking really bright at Kennedy. So I think Coach Elfage is going to make that push for them to get their chance in the Dome. And I think they might toughen the schedule just a tad little bit. Because remember, I think they have a one bye in their season. So they're going to add a tough game in there besides the schedule that they play. So I wouldn't be surprised he'll do that, because of the fact of the matter is, if his team is going to rise up against those teams, I think Kennedy is going to get to the Dome. But the wild card that could get to the Dome and possibly have a chance to win it all, don't be surprised. E.D. White will be right there looking to try to get the title.
E.D. White, huh?
Yes, E.D. White.
Okay.
They was young, and they were real young this year, especially making that deep run. And that quarterback who stepped in was a sophomore. So E.D. White is a team that could really, really get there. But I'm putting my chips up for Kennedy. If I lose, I lose. But I'm just gonna go with what Coach Alfage has done with the progress of the program. And all it is with the program is gonna go up and up and up.
All right. Division 3 non-select. I'm going Manny and I'm going Amit. That's the two I got, Manny and Amit, in the state championship. Rematch from 2021.
Manny and Amit in what you got, Division 3 non-select?
Division 3 non-select.
I think next year I'm going to stick with my conviction. Manny, no disrespect. Great program. Next season, Amit, St. James. It's happening. Amit, St. James. It's happening. Coach Levanta, that future is going higher and higher at St. James, and especially the steps they made. And plus, they got the same schedule, and the majority of their games are at home next year. They got Woodlawn at home. They got Lake Charles at home. This is going to be big for them, especially if they crack the top two. They crack the top two. Wildcat Stadium is going to be nuts, and that's going to be a tough place to get a win, a real tough place. I'm telling you, one of the most hostile environments in the state. You've been there, Jared. I don't care what anybody
I've been
says.
where? St. James?
Wildcat Stadium, yes, sir. You never been?
No.
You need to come. If I'm still in the state next year, you need to come. I don't care if I'm even working somewhere in Baton Rouge. I'm like this. You need to come to one game and experience St. James football. I have no disrespect for Destrehan, Hineville, no. St. James, the best home environment in the River Parish. I don't care what anybody say. That hostile environment is nuts. So you need to go there, especially. And I'm telling you, I don't know how you never went to the old St. James Stadium on River Road. You talk about a haunted house. That's a haunted house in itself, a house of horrors. But the new one, it's unbelievable in itself for what it is. Wildcat Stadium on a Friday night. It's crazy. The tailgating, the people. You will love St. James. So trust me. Oh, yeah, then they do play Lake Charles at home. Oh, yeah, you got to go. You got to go.
My cousin graduating this year.
You got
My cousin graduating this year.
I thought you know people still on the coaching staff, my friend.
I know about Eric Franklin because he played with my good friend Jason Olford and he played with Coach Antoine. But other than that, people on the coaching staff know. I had a cousin that was going to Lake Charles College Prep.
Oh, so you're not worried. You still need to go anyway. You still need to go check out St. James. But like I said, it's happening next year. Amy, St. James, no disrespect to Coach Curtis over at Manny next year. And especially Amit, with a lot of their starters returning. And Zephaniah Powell is going to be looking for redemption out of all the adversity they have faced this year.
Division III select. So this to me is probably the most wide open one out of all of them.
Yes, this is the world's wide open one.
Yeah.
You talking about wild playoffs? That division is going to be wild. Go ahead, break it down.
Break it down. I mean, look at the teams: U High, Dunham, St. Charles, Parkview Baptist, Episcopal, Notre Dame, Newman, Sophie B. Wright, who's coming up, Calvary Baptist, North Lake Christian, Metairie Park Country Day, ML King Charter, who's coming up, Lake Charles College Prep, Loyola Prep, Episcopal, North Caddo. I mean, gosh, it's wide open. But I'm going to go ahead and do my picks, though. I think St. Charles Catholic will get back to the Dome. The best motivator and a good coach in himself, Wayne Stein, gets them back to the Dome. But it's going to be a fight regardless of all the teams. And that other spot, I think it's going to happen finally. I think Lake Charles College Prep is going to the Dome. They're going. I think it's going to be their turn to go.
Okay.
They're in a tough district, and they lost to Notre Dame by 1 point. They went for 2 in overtime when they had the ball first. They didn't trust their kicker because he missed 2 extra points early in the game. I'm going to go with Lake Charles College Prep against St. Charles Catholic in the Dome. And that's not me picking Lake Charles College Prep because my family from Lake Charles. I just think it's their time.
Guess what, Mr. Boyd? Guess what? Out of all the teams in the world, guess what? I agree with you. I actually agree with you. St. Charles will be back, going for a three-peat. And then I think Lake Charles College Prep, I think after the disappointing season they had this year, I think they redeem themselves next year. I think it's their time. I think next year, after all that they went through, I think this is going to be finally their time. Coach Franklin and company will finally get to the Superdome, and that will be one hell of a battle. We had a great battle between them. We had a battle between Dunham, St. Charles. I mean, what a ball game that was. What a comeback. And we expect this to be a good ball game once again. I really think that Lake Charles College Prep, this is probably going to be their time to get back to the Dome. And I'm going to tell you this. Don't be surprised. Dunham will be right there.
I won't.
In the wings.
I won't be surprised
because Dunham has 12 starters returning, including 8 on offense.
Yeah,
so that's going to be big.
So
Dunham is going to be right there in the fold in Coach Weiner. So I'm like this: if St. Charles nor Lake Charles College Prep don't make it, I think Dunham slides in, and he might slide out with the state championship. Who knows?
We'll see. Division IV non-select. I'm going Haynesville and Kentwood in the Dome.
Well, Haynesville, Kentwood, I can agree with that. And I can live with that. I agree with you on the matchup. I think Kentwood gets redemption after what happened this season. I tell you, they had a great year. One of the best all-around teams in the state. And, I mean, for Jared to get that pick right, I felt some type of way about that. Because I was like, come on, man. You got to be kidding. You really think Oak Grove is going to come in to the tank and get a win against this Kentwood team? And they did. And Oak Grove did an outstanding job defensively to get the state championship. And defense wins championship. Oak Grove is known offensively. And they run the ball. They do the same thing. They run it. 2 receivers, pro sets, I sets. But the defense did it all for them. So, but I agree with Jared on this one. Kentwood and definitely, Kentwood. Who you got? Kentwood and Haynesville. Haynesville. Yep. Haynesville is definitely going to be a better team this year.
Yeah.
Definitely. I didn't think this Haynesville team was strong enough to get to the Dome last year, but I think next year, yes, they'll be much better, stronger team to get there.
And we go to Division 4 select. So I think we're going to see a rematch between Vermilion Catholic and Washita Christian. But I will say this. Watch out for St. Martin's. Watch out for St. Martin's.
Agreed.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Agreed.
I'll have more when the season comes when the next season starts. I'll have more about that. But let's just watch for St. Martin. Everything stays true to what it is right now. Watch out for St. Martin's. Who you got?
And people was talking about the future of Harlem Berry. And I think the future is bright at St. Martin's. I'm going to go with this one right here. Vermilion Catholic. They don't get there. They got a chance to get there, but they won't. My state championship next year will be Washita Christian against St. Martin's. I think St. Martin's will get back. Frank Gendusa has done a great job with this program. I think he's going to get over the hump by getting to the Dome. Gendusa was a coach at Newman. Now he's going to get, I think he finally gets his first trip to the Dome. St. Martin's hits that Dome turf next season against Washita Christian.
All right. Update for you. The Colts lead the Vikings 30-3 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Not 30-3, 30-0. I'm sorry. With 2 minutes left in the second quarter.
You said the Colts up.
The Colts. And Jonathan Taylor got hurt on the first play.
Hey, I talked with George Pepper this morning. He was talking to me about that.
I'm about to bring him on.
And he was like, hey, something is up with this 3-point up. Like they got the Vikings in favor by 3.5 points. I said, you know what I told him? I said, that sound right. I would respond to Colts upset these people. The Vikings are not good. They're not good. It's not a surprise. Not at all. And 30-0 in the second without Jonathan Taylor?
Without.
Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings is a fraud. The Cowboys exposed them, window dressed them, and you looked at last week what Detroit did to them.
It's pretty bad.
Wow.
We're going to bring in our good friend, George Peppers. What's up, George Peppers?
What's up, Jared Boyd and Vashawn Jones? Yeah, just to piggyback off what you told me on our phone chat this morning, I had the same alert you did, but I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. And I even told you this morning. I said, man, I messed up. I think I messed up, but I don't know. But 30-0 without Jonathan Taylor, guess what that does? My fantasy football team's got Jonathan Taylor. I got to win this week to make a playoff spot. And Jonathan Taylor is my running back, so I love that news, don't I? 30-0.
Hey.
I'm thinking, oh joy, he's got 100-something yards already. No, first play of the game done.
Hey, I got Jonathan Taylor also on my fantasy team. We're in the playoffs
Okay.
right now, and wow.
That's trips. I mean, I'm not surprised that Indy's ahead, like me and Vashawn were saying this morning. I'm not at all surprised at the Colts, because I even told him, I said, dude, something just does not feel right with this line. I thought the Colts would mail it in, Jared. I didn't think, they're pretty much, Tennessee hasn't done anything to separate in the South, but Indy hasn't done anything to make any ground either. Yep. So I figured something didn't sound right, my first gut was right, but I went against my own gut and fell for it. I got Minnesota minus 3.5. Whoops. Big slip. So, it is what it is. I got other things going on. I just want Argentina to win tomorrow at the World Cup so I can pick up my future bet. So,
there you go.
Yeah. But,
all right.
Anyway.
We're gonna move on now. VK, you still there?
I'm here.
All right, cool. So we're gonna talk about these 3 Louisiana teams that are in bowl games.
All right.
And we're gonna start with the big one out of all 3. That is Tulane taking on USC in the Cotton Bowl. What are your thoughts about this game here, George Peppers?
It is a big game, more for Tulane than for USC. And it's going to sound strange saying that, but think about it. Tulane hasn't been to a New Year's Bowl since 1939.
Yeah.
This is the first time before any of us were even afterthoughts. Our first time in our lifetime, we're going to see Tulane in this kind of a spotlight. And then you got USC. Let's look at it from their side of the perspective. Possibly no Caleb Williams for one. For two, they had the playoff in their hip pocket and got roasted by Utah. And now they're not in the playoff. What is the motivation for USC to be here? I get it's a big bowl game. I think it's more the hungrier team that's for Tulane. And this is a golden opportunity. Now, Caleb may not play, but if he does, let's be honest, that line is going to spike because people are going to bet USC. The line is what, 1.5, 2 points right now?
Last I saw, USC -1.
Okay, that makes sense without Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I think, look, Tulane's got a real chance without Caleb Williams. With him, I'm not so enthused. I mean, unless USC just completely shows up not motivated, I'm going to go with it. The heck with it. You live once. I would take Tulane to beat USC. I really would. And this is not being a homer or nothing like that. I know what my eyes saw. A hungry football team that deserves an opportunity. They got it. Let's see if they can make it happen. I think they have a real opportunity here.
VK Jones?
Oh, I'm here.
All right. What are your thoughts?
Well, give y'all a history lesson, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, since 1939, the Tulane Green Wave, first time in the New Year's Year Bowl. But do you know this? And Roll Brown pointed it to me. Over in the state championships. Do you know this is a rematch between USC and Tulane? They met in 1932, 90 years to the day, coming up in the Rose Bowl. In 1932, Tulane took on USC. Final score, USC beating Tulane, 21-12. At the time, Tulane was undefeated, coached by Bernie Bierman. So that gave Tulane their only loss of the season in 1932 in the Rose Bowl. How you like that? 90 years to the day coming up as these two same teams are playing again. Unbelievable history. This is going to be a great ball game. I think Tulane can win this game outright if the scouting report is right. If Caleb Williams is not hitting that field, Tulane wins. But if Caleb Williams hits the field, remember, there's a lot of time off before the bowls. If Caleb Williams is healthy and he's going, Tulane better look out. I think Tulane still wins regardless, but it's a big change if Caleb Williams does play.
That's what it boils down to. If or if not Caleb Williams plays. We saw what John Rice Plumlee did to Tulane in the regular season game. We saw what he couldn't do in the AAC championship due to being injured. We don't know if Caleb's going to be 100% or not, but I think we all can say he is better than John Rice Plumlee. I think we all can agree to that.
He's the Heisman Trophy winner. So.
That is correct. He is the Heisman Trophy winner. So Tulane has a great defense. They really do. They have a good defense. They had a hard time containing John Rice Plumlee.
I'm going to be real with you. Tulane has a good defense, not a great defense.
That's why I changed it back from great to good.
Thank you, because we seen some Tulane games because it was like, bruh, we seen some greatness some points, but then some bruh, really? You know? Well, continue, my friend.
Yeah. So that's the key. If you can contain him, if he's playing, I'll give you a shot. The other possibility, USC defense isn't good. And I think Tajay Spears will definitely have over 100 yards rushing. Matt Pratt may have a good day also. So I don't know. But I'm going to say this. Caleb Williams plays, I go USC. If he doesn't play, I'm going to go Tulane. And I will leave it at that, fellas.
Hey,
Now,
that's interesting. You make a good point. Very good. It's exactly what we're talking about right there. It does depend on Caleb Williams, his health.
wait, George.
Jared, I was going to come back at you. I get your theory, and you're right. I'm 100% behind what your logic is. My thing is, I'm a big believer in motivation. What does USC gain by winning this bowl game? It's a New Year's Six game, but what does it accelerate their program if they win this game? Nowhere, honestly. I almost think, and Lincoln Riley, I don't know. Look, y'all can say what you want about how he's this offensive wizard, and maybe he is, but in big spots, he chokes. He, to me, is one of the more overrated coaches.
He hasn't won a playoff game.
No, he's over.
Yeah.
He's over. But on the other side, Tulane is going to be hungry. They're going to want to knock the cinder blocks down to beat this team. Because think of the profile it does for the Green Wave going into 2023.
Let me stop you right quick. Let me stop you. I'll let you go back. Do you think this game could be similar to when Alabama played Utah, when a lot of people said Alabama did not want to play in that Sugar Bowl game because they didn't make BCS?
It's got the same similarities, but Utah doesn't have the dynamic offense that Tulane did. Utah had a good offense, remember. That was a sound football team. Tulane is also a sound team, but you just made the greatest comparison. John Rich Plumlee is not in Caleb Williams' area code or zip code, wherever code. All right, let's be honest. Caleb Williams is the Heisman Trophy winner. He is that much of a difference maker. But again, I'm going to hang my head on the motivation thing with this game. For Tulane, if they win, gentlemen, the profile raises coming into 2023. And then think about this. The American's going to have a facelift next year without Cincy, without UCF, and there's another big team going out of the conference, but the teams that are coming in, I don't think they're comparable to Tulane as far as talent. So the Wave, may not be the last time we see this team in this kind of spotlight.
And I want to get a quick update right quick, because this is one of the topics we will talk about before we get out of here. Celebration Bowl, 23 seconds in the third quarter. North Carolina Central up on Jackson State, 26-21.
Jesus.
And the way it's looking right now, this is something, and this is not good for Jackson State, the way it's looking right now. They're going to have to try to bounce back quickly because it's looking like last year's game against South Carolina State. And to me, what happened last year, regardless of the fact, I think Jackson State underestimated South Carolina State and they got waxed. So they've done the same thing pretty much against Central. Give a lot of credit to North Carolina Central. They're bringing it today against a very good Jackson State team.
I will get to that in a little bit because that is one of our topics. Let's go to LSU versus Purdue. I want to say LSU. I really, really do. Didn't Jeff Brown just leave Purdue to become the head coach of Louisville?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
His alma mater. Okay. I'm going to stick with LSU in this game. I think talent-wise, LSU has more talent than Purdue. That's what I'm going to go with. That's what I'm going to stick with. I got LSU defeating Purdue. George Peppers.
I don't see how LSU loses against Purdue, and this is not a disrespect to Purdue. Purdue's had a fine season. Jeff Brown did a great job there, but here's what's missing for Purdue. They would need the Pope to have a chance against LSU to be their head coach. Yes, Drew Brees is an unpaid assistant, understood, because he's an alma mater. But guess who's not playing in that game for Purdue? Your quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, is not playing. He opted out. And to me, that's the engine for this football team. Now they're going to have to bring somebody else in. LSU's got some questions to answer on their side. Is Jaden Daniels going to be 100%? I would think so. It was an ankle or foot, I think, that he played with against Georgia in the SEC Championship. If Jaden's 100%, Brian Kelly does pretty good in bowl games against teams that his talent pool is better than. LSU is better than Purdue, but there's still the residue of Ed Ogeron on that roster. I think LSU uses this game as a springboard for 2023, and Kelly gets probably another top 5 to 10 recruiting class to complement the talent he already brought in from last year. I can't see LSU losing this game. I think they win and cover the number that they have set it, which is currently 8.5. It probably goes up before game time, but at this point, if I'm taking LSU, I'd lay this number. LSU should handle business in this spot.
VK.
Well, I'm like this. Whatever the point spread is in LSU's favor, run for the smell. Run for the smell and run for it quickly. LSU should win this game. Aiden O'Connor's not playing. The quarterback, Richburg Brom, is not there anymore. Drew Brees is going to try to motivate the team and all. This is alma mater and all. But at the same time, I'm like this. I hate to say this, and I'm going to have to do this. And if LSU screws me, I'm coming to get you. This is a VK Jones guarantee. VK Jones guarantee LSU big over Purdue. If they don't do it, I'm coming to Baton Rouge and get you.
All right. And the other Louisiana team that's in a bowl game. Louisiana Lafayette taking on the Houston Cougars at the Independence Bowl. Michael DeSormo got off to a rough start. That's the head coach for Louisiana Lafayette. Got off to a rough start, but managed to get his team to a 6-6 record. Something we haven't seen from Louisiana Lafayette in a while, but kind of got the ship on the correct seaways, as we could say. But I don't see him beating Dana Hogan's team. I don't. I think Dana Hogan and his team defeat the Raging Cajuns in Shreveport, Louisiana, in the Independence Bowl. George Peppers.
I'm inclined to agree, but I'm going to throw caution to the wind. Look, credit Michael DeSomo and ULL for bouncing back after, like you said, a haphazard, a very rough start. But Houston was a team that was thought of and well meant to be more than what they are. I don't think Shreveport was where they thought they'd be at the end of this past season, but here they are against Lafayette. Houston's a better football team on paper, and I don't think Lafayette's got the wherewithal for me to win this game. I mean, they have a chance, but as far as actually out-talenting Houston, no, that's not going to happen. If Houston shows up ready to play, they should win this. The line, I think, is at 6 right now. Cougars favored by 6. I would lay that number kind of trepidantly, but I feel like if Houston shows up, they're at least 2 scores better than the Cajuns. Yes, the Cajuns have had a recent run of success in bowl games, but I think the run slows down this year. I don't think the talent pool is what they had been the last few years where they've won 9, 10, 11 games. That's not this team. Houston's a better team on paper, and they should win. I would take the Cougars.
And gentlemen, I get what y'all talking about, what's going on and everything else, but I got to disagree. The reason why I have to disagree, the Houston Cougars have been the most helter-skelter team in college football this year. I do not trust the Cougars at all, period, for one. And I understand
you trust ULL?
Here's the thing about ULL you're missing. ULL is undefeated in bowls in the state of Louisiana. They have never lost in a bowl.
Yes, they have.
Win. They have never
lost in the New Orleans Bowl. They have.
Win. They never lost in the New Orleans Bowl.
Bet money.
All right. Hold on. I'm about to look it up right now.
Yeah, I got my phone right here.
You got your phone right here? Let's see.
Whichever one of y'all can pull it up. But I'll tell you right now, VK, I think you're wrong. I'm almost positive the Cajuns got beat in the state of Louisiana.
I want to say they lost to Nevada one year.
Let's see.
Nevada? Oh, they beat San Diego State. Okay, no, that wasn't them. No, as we do, it sounds like a mini pause, but as y'all do that, just touching on something VK said earlier, the guarantee part. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know the hit, you got it?
I got it. 2016, they lost to Southern Miss, 28-21.
That's right.
All
but
right,
they were
And
one.
that's
undefeated
the
in both.
only one.
Well, that's the only loss in the
Only
state
one.
of Louisiana. Go ahead.
Stop feeding bad
Go ahead,
information,
George.
son. Oh no, nothing. I was just gonna piggyback off of a guarantee, ladies and gentlemen. When VK makes a guarantee, bet carefully. I'm just saying his record with guarantees ain't great. I love you, Vashawn, but you
Hey,
know your record when you
hey,
guarantee
hey,
something.
hey, 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 hey. Was I right on Tennessee over Alabama?
At the last
Yeah,
play of
for
the
sure.
game,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was
sure
right
you
on
were.
that. I was right on a couple other things this year. That's the past.
Mhm.
This year I've been successful. So this is different. This year's a different year. But regardless of the fact, you look at, ULL lost one game, and that's the Southern Miss. Yeah, you're right. But overall, you look at ULL's record in the state of Louisiana in bowls. What they have won one, two, three, four. They are like 4-1 in the state of make it 5-1 in the state of Louisiana in bowls. They
Mhm.
play well in this state. And at the same time, yeah, Houston's a better team, but Houston is the most inconsistent team in college football. You look at some of their losses, there were some bad losses. I take ULL in a big win. If they lose, it'll be close. I take the points because Houston is up and down. They're up and down like Spencer Rattler. That's how
Oh,
up and down they are. So trust me, I take ULL over Houston because of Houston being inconsistent and ULL 5-1 in the state of Louisiana in bowls.
okay.
All right.
I'm like this. If I'm right, y'all got nothing to tell me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying on that.
What
You
can
know,
you tell us when
but,
you're
Look,
wrong, though?
I respect your opinion on your pick. I do
I
respect
respect
your
yours
opinion on your
too.
pick. You know.
Look, we respect yours too. I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm just picking. But listen, you just made my point about Houston's part of the equation. Houston is absolutely helter skelter. You're 100% right. There's no doubt. I mean, Darren, if the Cougars show up, they win. It's as
Yeah,
simple as that.
it's the
There's
truth.
no facsimile idea that Lafayette wins this game by outplaying Houston. If Houston shows up ready to play in Holgerson, last I checked, that guy does pretty well in bowl games. Um, look, and Michael DeSomo, this is his first go around. Look, they're just happy to get a bowl game considering the start that they had. I want to see the Cajuns win this game. Look, it's a Louisiana thing. I'd like to see all three Louisiana teams win it. I just think of the three, this is the least likely of the three that'll win.
Okay.
Right.
Now, on to prime time. Deion Sanders.
and an,
Right
and an,
now,
and an update in that game.
I'm about to say it. I'm about to say it.
Go. Handle your business,
Right
bro.
now,
I'm sorry.
3rd and goal for Jackson State. They are down 26-21. It's 3rd and goal for them right now at the 22-yard line. Shedeur Sanders got sacked. So it's 3rd and goal. They went to a timeout. That's the update on that. As we all know, Deion Sanders is leaving to go to Colorado after this game. VK, I'm giving you the floor. This is what you want to talk about. Deion Sanders. Me and George will chime in after, but the floor is yours on Mr. Deion Sanders.
Well, the last couple of weeks, the way it has been going and everything, this has been a very, very intense topic in sports because of the fact of the matter is that Deion Sanders chooses to leave for bigger and greener pastures over the University of Colorado instead of staying in Jackson State. But at the same time, don't blame him because of the opportunity that he has to go to the next level. But it's just been unbelievable all over social media, all over media that you look at the conglomerate, how for one, black folks are looking at this thing as not good and why you're going to sell out on the HBCUs and all this other stuff and everything else. And it's just the fact what their opinions are, but then the pure ignorance, what I'm hearing from them. Instead of thinking this whole thing out, looking at the checks and balances of the whole thing. And it's like, crazy. But then the media twisted it as well. Like, how in the world on CNN they bring in Bomani Jones to talk about the subject, and CNN puts a graphic talking about Deion Sanders selling out HBCUs. And it's like, what in the world is going on here?
Well, Bomani kind of disagrees with what Deion is doing.
Right.
To a certain extent. It might have been why they put that ticker.
Right. But at the same time, he even said on his podcast that, yeah, I'm pro-black, but at the same time, you know, if this is an opportunity for Deion to get it, go ahead and get it. But he was also saying that CNN was wrong for putting that moniker up there on the screen. They shouldn't, because he was like, I'm not calling him a sellout. And that's what he said on the podcast. He said, I'm not calling Deion Sanders a sellout at all. And he said that on CNN as well. He said they should have never put that up there. And that's what the media sometimes do. And Jackson State just scores, take the lead. Well, at the same time, but still, regardless of the fact, it's just been such an intense subject in itself. And, you know, to me, I think, you know, we're moving on from this one. I think Deion Sanders has done wonders at Jackson State and everything else. And at the same time, yeah, he done everything to put the media out there because the HBCUs needed that exposure. Because not too many schools go beyond their department. So meaning the fact of the matter is, you look at these elected departments, and I'm saying that because I worked as a sports information director at a college. You have to do more than just the printouts and all this other stuff. You want to get good video exposure, certain other things to put your program out there. In certain college, even the Division Ones not doing it. But also another reason, the lack of staff. If you got one person just doing it, they're not about to wear themselves down. They're gonna have to depend on student workers. But that's why you gotta hire assistants. That's why sometimes the budget ain't there because people are not trying. The colleges are not trying. It's ridiculous because there are no excuses. And I'm gonna give a big shout out to Roland Martin. He was a real one on his forum, and he said it himself. What's the problem right now? Why the HBCUs are not giving? Why none of these alumni or whatever else is giving? We understand you got this, that, and the third, but why you can't put $1 aside or $2 or $5 a month or something just to give back? And then another thing, find another way to get the money. Somebody has the money to what you need. Besides, you got to start with giving within the school, and then finding the donors that can donate and get things together for fun to build what they need to build. Deion gave a lot of his salary and money to build the practice field that they have at Jackson State. That's not because of the college. And it's a shame. It's a crying shame for that. So it's just the fact of the matter is the school didn't do enough. The city of Jackson didn't do enough in marketing. It's a lot of things with that. So I don't blame Deion Sanders for leaving for greener pastures. If somebody's going all out and putting everything else, the time, the money to put a plug in where you need to be, but you don't have his back and whatever, that's not good. That's why a lot of folks, even black folks, kite out, go to other places and states or whatever for bigger success because they feel like their own people can't help them when it comes down to it because there's always excuses. But plain and simple, I wish Deion luck. I wish him the best going forward. But it's a lot of layers going into that particular subject in itself. And black folks need to stop being ignorant, look at the bigger picture. And the media need to just leave this thing alone, let it go forward. But big ups to Deion for what he did to put HBCU football back in the forefront. And hopefully they keep it going. New head coach at Jackson State. So I hope they keep their energy going. But for Jackson State, all this ungratefulness and all that stuff and whatever, all I'm gonna tell you is this: you need to tell Deion Sanders thank you for everything he done to put your school on the map. Because guess what? Today, all this smack talking, all this stuff in the past, what you doing in the Southern, all this other crap, but you being ungrateful to Deion after all he's done. Today is your funeral. Enjoy all this because you're gonna be right back to irrelevancy again.
George Peppers.
Wow. I don't know how I follow that, but I'm going to be as passionate and as forthright as I can be. Why? As a Caucasian American, I'm going to speak as someone, and y'all know me, y'all both know me a long time, and y'all both know the one thing I am is consistent. There's nothing that I've ever wavered on, especially when it comes to issues of race. What CNN has done and what other journalists have done is basically dogpile on Deion and making him out to be a guilt trip that he left an HBCU to go to a Power 5 school. Let us understand one thing. How many black coaches get that kind of opportunity? Fairly. Fairly.
Right.
He worked his resume. He was never a coach at any level before he went to Jackson State. But look at Jackson State.
He coached at high school, offensive coordinator at Trinity.
Okay, high school. But that's a different level. That's lower than college.
Yes.
Okay. But he progressed his way to the collegiate level. And look at Jackson State in the last 2 years, counting today. Celebration Bowl last year, lost to South Carolina State. BK, let me correct you on one thing. They were ahead most of that game, and they gave it back late. Deion Sanders went into a turnover fest in the third and fourth quarter, and South Carolina State won that game. Today, they're still down, I guess, 26-21. I haven't peeked at it yet.
They're up by one.
Oh, they're ahead now. Okay.
They're up now. They scored a touchdown. Yeah.
Okay, cool deal. All right, well, they're ahead. Regardless. But the journalist, quote, if I want to call them that, I'm going to use that term loosely. The ones that are saying, well, Deion's a sellout, you need to look yourself in the mirror and understand where you're coming from. What makes you say something so baseless and so blatantly ignorant? It is beyond my scope. I mean, as a white American, I am happy as can be for Deion Sanders that he gets this opportunity to build a bottom level program. Colorado is pure D nothing. 1-11. They are in the bottom of the Pac-12. Where can they go from here? Up. What do you want to bet these same quote journalists that are crapping on Deion now are going to be kissing his feet when Colorado wins the Pac-12 in about 3 to 4 years? Because it's going to take Deion a little bit of time. That is a colossal mess, Jared. Facts. It is a mess.
It is.
But when Deion turns this program around and gets them to the Rose Bowl, gets them into the Pac-12 championship discussion, what are these same journalists going to say? That's my question. What the hell are you going to tell Deion Sanders after he turns his program around? That's what I want to know. So all you idiots that are watching CNN, CNN is the worst race-baiting network on television, and they're not the only one, but they're the head one because they have the second most viewership. All right. For Deion Sanders,
Fox.
well, Fox too. I mean, I'm not. This isn't about conservative liberal. This is about the fact that Bomani Jones was on our network that put a moniker saying Deion is a sellout. That's irresponsible journalism, big time, and that should cost them their jobs. That is completely baseless and ignorant because you're trying to stir a very, very bad Pandora's box. Don't do it. Be responsible. Be right. But most importantly, be better. As an American, regardless of race, be better. Deion Sanders, much power to you, man. Good luck in Colorado. I think you're going to do great things there. And again, $7.5 million versus $300,000. Jackson State, you about to leave this island of relevancy after today. But I want to ask you one question, BK. Who's delivering the eulogy for Jackson State since this is their funeral?
Who's
giving the eulogy? You?
I guess I don't know, but I'm gonna say this right quick. You said, last year's game, but I'm not talking about like, I didn't say like dominate. I'm just saying that they underestimated South Carolina because Jackson State was supposed to win that game big, and
they were supposed to. You're right,
and they got outplayed.
Right.
You know,
yep.
That was the biggest thing about that. I didn't say that I blow them out, but it was just the fact that hey, look. That was like an underestimate. That was the biggest thing I seen on last year was the fact, Jackson State really because I thought South Carolina State wasn't a bad team. I was thinking Jackson State should dominate, and I was just shocked how that game. I was like, oh my goodness, South Carolina came to play,
Yep.
and I just played beat them, and it's like, and I was like, I was hoping from there that Deion would learn that lesson from that game. Don't ever underestimate the MEAC, and the MEAC really proving themselves. A lot of credit to them.
I'm going to say this. He's definitely not a sellout. He never sold out. And we as black people should be happy for the opportunity that he is getting without a shadow of a doubt. But I said it before, and I'll say it again. Deion came here talking, saying he was going to have HBCU be the top, have all these players not go to like schools like Florida State, LSU, Alabama, have them come to HBCU. I sat there and said, that's Deion just talking. He's talking. Don't be one of these people that just believes everything he says, because I said it, when the big schools come calling for Deion, he's going to leave. And I think there's people that are mad because he said, oh, he's going to stay forever and this and that. You can't go by that, people. You can't. You have to have an open mind. Open mind. Any coach, FCS level, mid-majors, if they get offered from a big-time school, which is way more money in the millions, they're going to go. They're going to go. And so to call him a sellout is wrong. Totally wrong.
And it's a business.
It
People
is a
gotta
business.
understand
Correct.
it's a business. I think some people said Deion should have said what he said and stuff like that because of the fact that, hey, maybe he shouldn't have said about the HBCU. Hey, let me tell y'all something right now.
Look what he's done for the HBCU.
Looking at the business, I don't think Deion was wrong what he said because you got to look at the bigger picture. He's a businessman. And when you're in the business of education, athletics, all this other, especially in a lower level, what you got to do, and George, you ought to agree with me on this, you got to sell. You have to sell. Because
You're right.
the fact of the
Deion
matter
Sanders is a
is,
brand.
right, you have to sell. Because guess what? If you don't have any sales or whatever, or anything coming behind it, there's no kind of resources to set up for success. You have to sell.
Do you want me to? I'm going to ask you both. First of all, I'm going to tell you both. Do you want to know what I think black journalists are the ones that are calling Deion a sellout? You want to know what I think they're thinking? Let's go into their brain cells a little bit. I think they want to look for the next Eddie Robinson or Pete Richardson, coaches that never left their HBCU, Southern and Grambling. They wanted Deion to be that iconic kind of guy to stay in Jackson State. But come on now. Am I right or wrong in saying that?
I think you have an excellent point. I think it's an excellent point. Yes.
Okay. But that being said, VK makes the other point. Deion is a brand. But you know what? He's proven himself to be a pretty doggone good football coach. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen videos of Deion going nuclear on his team. They were doing a halftime. They were down in a game earlier this year. And some dude's cell phone rang in the locker room. And let's just say it wasn't made for TV what he said, pretty much. He was like, y'all know what he said. Y'all saw it. I did. But that being said, Colorado, they got themselves a guy that's going to be dedicated and loyal. And he told the dudes that are there, y'all not doing the job, I'm going to bring people that will. I'm going to give you every opportunity. And he's right. That's what you're supposed to do. VK, you're 100% right about his brand, the branding of Deion Sanders. So what if he sold sneakers for $10, $400 sneakers for $10 at Florida State, like Peter Warwick? Now I'm being messy because he's a Florida State fan, guys.
Yeah. And it's just the Deion brand also, George. It's an overall brand. Like when I was at CCC at Oklahoma Community College, my thing, I'm selling the athletic department in the school, and I kept saying to business people, this should be the flagship school of Clarksdale, Mississippi. And I meant what I said. Exactly. And I think Hugh Freeze did the same thing. at Ole Miss, the flagship school of Mississippi. You gotta have selling points for certain spots, especially when you're on a lower level. You have to sell what you got, especially if you're the only game in town.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, George. Continue.
Look, just those are the bullet points I wanted to get out there on this air. I mean, I really feel that's the passionate part of me speaking. The fact that I think that the black journalists are upset that Deion's leaving Jackson State because they wanted him to be Eddie Robinson, the late great Eddie Robinson, and Pete Richardson, two icons in the black coaching community, and had multitudes of success at both schools, Southern and Grambling. That being said, they wanted Deion to be that guy at Jackson State. But Deion put Jackson State on the map, put the SWAC on the map again, brought the SWAC back. For TC Taylor, I think is the new coach at Jackson State. I'm
Yeah.
going to pray for you, man. I'm going to pray for you, my brother, because, African Americans deserve every opportunity, but you are walking into a hornet's nest, bro. I'm going to tell you right now, it may not work out for you. I hope it does, because I hope Deion left you something. But if the exodus that Deion's talking about happens, Jackson State's going to go from first to worst quickly. And I hate it for him because he's a young coach, trying to get his feet wet and trying to better himself. But this is a situation as compared to the Texans hiring not Lovie Smith, the guy they hired last year. He left a good cushy job with the Ravens and went into a situation where he couldn't win. He couldn't win. And I don't know if TC Taylor's entering the same situation, Jared. I have my doubts with Jackson State after Deion. I just have my doubts. And maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong or not.
We'll know come next season.
Know.
We'll know.
You're right. And George, you absolutely are 100% on the mark. Plain and simple, stop it, black journalists. Please. I'm a black journalist. Just stop it. Please stop it. Understand. No, as long as these HBCUs in existence, we want to keep them open. We want them to be successful. But until they go beyond themselves to get better, you look at how FAMU then got better.
Touchdown, NC Central.
I just seen that. Yep. I know somebody I know is happy, but at the same time, look, it's not happening. You're not getting a Pete Richardson. You're not getting an Eddie Robinson. You're not Pugh. All these great. You're not gonna get them. HBCUs don't have the funding enough. Until you gotta go, if they go beyond, like you look at what Prairie View's done, Florida A&M has done to improve their facilities and everything else, the funding. When you get more funding, then that's when you keep coaches. What else you think happened to Dawson Odoms, who was gonna be at Southern for a while? The raise was coming up, and he was trying to get a little raise, but then also Norfolk State called. Norfolk State improved on their facilities and everything, and the funding, and they put that big time bonus and check to Dawson Odoms and said, "Come on over here, come lead us." What you think happened? Come on, man. Money talks and BS walks. Money talks, and that's just real. And we shouldn't have money. Shouldn't be the main thing, because all money ain't good money. But you need to have the funding, the facilities, everything to back it and to give coaches a reason to stay. If you don't, they're out the door. Easy. And South Carolina, and here is UNC Central. The Eagles have scored a touchdown, 2-point conversion. They are up 7, big ups, going to the mid conference right now. 4:31 left, and this is unbelievable. If Central holds on to win this game, that'll be unbelievable, unreal.
I'll have something to say about it.
The most unexpected years you would think the SWAC would maybe dominate or win a Celebration Bowl. The MEAC is taking it back big time.
All right, to our last topic. The New Orleans Saints take on the Atlanta Falcons. Usually a game I'd be excited for. I'm just not excited at all. I don't even know who wins this game. I'm just not really interested right now in the New Orleans Saints. Period.
You know what I think about the Saints?
Would you? Yeah,
That's
nice,
what I think about the Saints. Yeah.
nice. George Peppers.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. I did not think we would close this show with this topic. Because they're not anywhere near anything called relevancy. The New Orleans Saints. 2 weeks ago, they left a very bitter taste in a lot of the locals' mouths, Saints fans included. I see one right here, two. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not. I do root for them unabatedly. Um, on paper, when you look at this matchup, the Atlanta Falcons are coming in as roadkill. They are going completely south. They're like the ducks flying south for the winter. If they haven't gotten here already, well, they will, because this week coming up in New Orleans is going to be cold, 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 and maybe the Saints will play cold. I'll say this: the football games we saw last weekend were better than what we're going to see tomorrow. Just throwing that out there for you guys. For those of you that weren't in the Superdome last weekend, we were, and we got to see very good football. You may not see that tomorrow, but on paper, the Falcons have Desmond Ridder, who I like a lot. I like him.
Me too.
And now the future is his, because Mariota has left the Falcons. He is no longer on the team. He's gone.
Wait, what?
On paper,
What?
yeah, he's gone. Go back and look. He said he's leaving the team. I don't know if he's left the team, but like left. I think he left like practice or something. But it's spelling it out. He's done. He's not. He's not engaged or whatnot. I'm going to look it up to be sure. I don't. I read it earlier this week in passing. But the Saints are favored in this game, y'all. 4.5
Yeah, about
points.
4.5.
4.5. In what confidence can you sit there with a human heart and a brain and say, yeah, I'm going to lay 4.5 points with a New Orleans Saints offense that's clueless? There's a movie called Sleepless in Seattle. Here's one, Clueless in New Orleans.
Let me stop you right quick.
Okay, talk to
August
me.
Mariota is having knee surgery.
Oh, okay, he's injured. Oh, I didn't know that.
It is.
Okay. So they turned it over to Desmond Ritter, and it was going to happen anyway because the season was going.
Without a doubt. Yep.
Throw this nugget out there. The Carolina Panthers might catch Tampa Bay. Just saying. They might. They're only a game back. So we'll see. But honestly, if you're a Saints fan, and you two are, they better win 3 of these last 4. Forget the playoffs. It's to move from number 6 in the draft and down into the teens. You don't want to be picking. You don't have that 6th pick. Philly does. That's like giving a 500-pound man a porterhouse steak. What the heck do you think he's going to do with it? Pound it. The rich get richer if the Eagles pick 6 in this draft. That's a Will Anderson spot right there. Linebacker out of Alabama. That could be something like that. Any deficiencies they can find. So if you're a Saints fan, you best root hard for your boys tomorrow, and they win this game. Tampa, and look, anybody who wins the NFC South is roadkill in the playoffs. They can't win. They have no shot. None. But who wins it? I mean, 9-6 Saints? I don't know. I mean, I think this is going to be a game where Ritter's going to struggle early. I'm curious to see what kind of a crowd the Dome brings tomorrow. What kind of, it's going to be pretty blustery. And they're 4-9. What kind of a crowd and what kind of juice is the Superdome going to have tomorrow, guys? That's the thing I'm looking forward to.
VK, who are you picking? Saints or Falcons?
Well, I'm going to. I hate to go against my brethren of the Saints, but like I said, it's a freaking dumpster fire and it's going to continue. Falcons by 2 touchdowns. This is not going to even be close. This is not going to be close. I'm sorry. This is just freaking horrifying to be watching. I'm not going to worry about the game because I'm going to be on the clock. I hope they don't have a lot of people come to the game. Stay home tomorrow, to be honest. Just stay home. Makes my job easier. Make my easy money. And I can go home at 4 o'clock and enjoy my 2 weeks off. Just don't come to the game. Just don't come. You don't want this misery. Or you just go come, get some drink on, get your drink on, get your eat on, get a little wasted, and just, just enjoy yourself and be miserable. But I hope you don't be miserable. Just go there, have a good time regardless if they lose. If they win, great. Last time they played at home, unexpected win, great. Awesome. They played a complete game. Good job, Saints. I'll be happy. But I don't even care right now. You see, that's how I feel right now because I don't even care about this. The Pelicans are a little bit more to my passion right now. Tulane football and LSU more than the Saints. This reminds me so much of the Bill Coherrick days and how miserable those seasons were. And I don't want to go back to that. And I hate to go back to that. But we're going back to it now. Like I said before, I'm gonna say it again. Miss Benson, you're doing a great job with the Pels. They're good. Come on over to the Saint side. It's time to regurgitate, take out some folks, burn this thing to the ground, and build it from the ground up. It starts from Mickey Loomis to Dennis Allen to the staff. Time to rebuild. Rebuild, start anew. I'm like this. It might take us 3-4 years. It don't matter. Let's start all over again and rebuild this franchise because right now we are in the last lifeline and we are on critical condition. And I'm like this, Miss Benson, pull the plug on this season. Just pull the plug. Pull the plug and start all over.
George, I just wanted to know who he had winning. He gave us a whole story and what they need to do.
I know.
I
know.
did say Falcons.
Oh yeah,
by
he said
more
that
than two
Falcons by
touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
He
But
did
I'm
say
willing to bet.
Falcons.
Yeah, but by 2
I'm a,
touchdowns, I tell you what, give me
he
New
said
Orleans
two
at 14.
touchdowns.
Well, he
Two
could give
touchdowns.
me you can give me 14 points on the New Orleans Saints. As bad as they've been, I'll take that any day of the week and 20 touchdowns.
Hey, I'm saying that because what I said this morning about the Colts, and look what they're freaking doing.
And they're beating the brakes off of overrated Minnesota team. They're beating
That's
the
not.
brakes off the overrated Vikings. You're right. Okay, but going back to the Saints for a second, Jared Dennis Loisha, their president. Oh God, I can't get it. It starts with L. I can't, and I can always butcher the pronounce Moshe. I think he's their team president. And he's going to retire at the end of the year. There's strong rumors that he's going to retire, and that Mickey Loomis may get kicked upstairs to that spot, and they may redo the whole front office of the football organization. So that's something to keep an eye on. I saw this on Twitter. I don't remember the source, but I saw this on Twitter earlier this week.
Man, Mickey Loomis needs to go.
Agree.
Damn this moving up. He needs to go. I don't understand this crap about holding on to people that can't do their damn job. I can't stand that. This is crap. Now, Miss Benson, please consider the fans. Get rid of the people that don't need to be here anymore.
All right. I'm going to keep this nice and simple. Saints win. Will Lutz game-winning field goal. And I'll leave it at that.
That's very.
Now, with that being said, ladies and gents, we are going to go on a little break. We'll be back after New Year's. Right back at it, and we're going to dive into the basketball season. We're going to get into basketball high school games. We'll get into the Pelicans, NBA, and we're going to try to interview high school basketball coaches also. At the same time, we are trying to have Sam Spiegelman join us, who is a guy that works with recruiting. Am I correct, VK?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
With recruiting.
He's a big time one of the big time recruiters from all over the country. He used to work with NOLA.com and the Advocate long time ago, but he's really branched off. He's really grown and done some great things. And, he's all over the place. So he's not just based in Louisiana, but he goes everywhere. So we're going to definitely have him on. Soon we're going to have Dwayne Jenkins. I
was about to say that. I have Coach Jenkins from Lutcher also join us on the show.
Yep. So we can't wait for him. We got to have a lot of guests. Basketball is going to be king when we come back. We'll be back in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, after the New Year's. And I hope y'all enjoy your holidays and everything else. A happy
I hope
holiday
they all
season.
enjoy their holidays
Yes,
and
yes, please
be
do.
right back here with us when we come right back on.
And we
Hmm.
and we thank
Go-
everyone for tuning in for all football season. It's amazing how fast this season has went, especially for high school. And a week later, we're into the Christmas holidays.
it's football season shot and just left just like that. Like
Yeah.
VK just said, we thank everybody who tuned in. We appreciate it. And before we go, Mr. George Peppers, you got any last words?
I do. I hope for great things in 2023 for all three of us with this show as this show continues to progress and grow. It started out this year. We're looking to move this. We're looking to move this show forward, and hopefully, we're looking at bigger and broader audiences, and bigger and more people to listen in. Because we're doing this with you guys is fun for me. This is absolute fun. It is great. It's like sitting down at Hooters or Buffalo Wild Wings or wherever. Name your sports bar, walk-ons, and just chilling out with the boys and knocking down some grub and watching. I'm not gonna say the beer part because I'm not that great. I'm not that much of the into that. But like you said, we're taking a couple of weeks off. To everybody out there, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, wherever you may be. Please be safe. And on a personal note, um, this week we went through a pretty scary incident a couple of days ago with the tornadoes, the rash of tornadoes that hit the West Bank.
Yeah.
Prayers and thoughts to those who lost property, and to those that lost lives. Our thoughts and prayers are with you guys as well. So and we continue to bounce back. That's the resolve we show as New Orleanians. We continue to bounce back. You can throw knuckleballs and throw fastballs, but guess what? We're gonna hit them at the park every time. Because you may knock us down, but you're not gonna knock us out. And on that note, I can't wait to do this again in 2023, gentlemen. I know we'll talk a lot before then, but to those of you out there, this is it until 23. I'm looking forward to joining you guys then, and we're gonna grow this bad boy even more.
VK, last words?
Hey man, it's good to be here. Good to be part of this show. Jared, very, very proud of what you've done putting this together. I thank you for, starting this thing a year ago. And, took a lot of pressure off me, but at the same time, though, you still provide, you always needed my information, any kind of thing, to get it going. And I'm proud of what you're doing with the show and this platform and everything else. Because I talked about doing a podcast before, but this didn't take a lot of pressure off me because I have a lot going myself mentally. So for that, big ups to you, big ups to George and being on the show, big ups to our guests, but big ups importantly to you. You continuing to grow this product and keep it going, man. And if I was you, take the clip of the Deion Sanders thing, but start taking some clips and put it on YouTube. Little clips right there they can watch, especially the Deion Sanders segment. Some people, I'm like this. Our goal is to get that thing viral. Please take the Deion Sanders segment, cut it, and put it in YouTube. Because I'm telling you now, if they see this, it'll be crazy. I want them to see it. But continue to grow, continue to do what you do. I'm proud of what you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Second that emotion. I just want to say one more thing. Everything I told you last Saturday in the Superdome, Jared, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Everything I told you off air, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're a brother to me. I love you, and I'm very proud of you as well for what you've done with this show. And we're going to have continued success, but you're the ringleader of this. So let's keep it rolling, boys.
Definitely. I want to thank you two guys, man. Thank you two guys for always being on this show when y'all can. I appreciate it. I can't do it by myself. So I appreciate the help from you, George, and you for sure, VK, and all the other stuff you've done, VK. Some of the guests that we've had on this show was thanks to VK going out there and getting the job done to get them on the show. So special thank you to you two guys. I appreciate y'all so much. To all of the guests that we've had on the show, we had Coach JT Curtis today, and every other guest we've had, I want to thank them. Everybody who's tuned in and watched the show, I want to thank you all. What up, David Kinsey? I want to thank you all. Everybody, click that subscribe button on the YouTube page, JB Your Sports Guy. My man, VK Jones got a YouTube page. Click that subscribe button on his YouTube page. George, I don't know if you have one or not. But
I don't.
But we're gonna get George to make one, and he gonna go ahead and we're gonna get y'all to subscribe to his page. Breaking news from David Kinsey. Aha. Mike Williams from Shaw just committed to Southeastern Louisiana. Yes, indeed. So that's big news. Southeastern got them a steal. Big steal.
Very much agree.
With that offense, my God, he's going to do great things there.
Yeah.
He's going to kill it at Southeastern.
Yes, sir.
He's going to kill it.
Without a doubt. Southeastern was waiting to pull that trigger. From what I was told, they were waiting to pull that trigger for Mike. They thought some bigger schools were going to attack Mike and try to get him. Apparently, that did not happen. And Southeastern offered that scholarship to him. And Mike Williams committed. So that is big news. I'm happy for the young man. Thank you, David DK Kinsey, for breaking that to us. Other than that, everybody, we coming back in 2 weeks in the new year. All right, we're taking 2 weeks off. We will be back. Basketball, like we said, we going at it with basketball. Other than that, for my good friend George Peppers, my good friend Mr. VK Jones, I am JB, your sports guy. See y'all in over 2 weeks. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to each and every one of y'all. Take care.